Hey, how's it going, guys? So I am at the American Armory Museum in Fairfield, California, and I had no idea that there was a tank museum this close to the Bay Area. But anyhow, you can see behind me, just some of the vehicles they've got here. And what's even cooler about this place is you can actually go for rides in these tanks. So I'm gonna go check out the museum, and then we'll go hop in some tanks. So to give you a little bit of a background on the American Armory Museum, a while back there was an extensive collection of military vehicles in the Bay Area called the Littlefield Collection, and unfortunately Mr. Littlefield passed away in 2009, and his estate decided to auction off the collection. One of the major purchasers of that collection was the Collings Foundation, and they have a multitude of museums and historical vehicle programs. I've actually flown in their B-17. They have a fleet of World War II aircraft that tours the country, and every Memorial Day they come to my local regional airport. So you're able to buy experiences there. And one of the other cool things they offer is they offer a whole bomber camp, which that's on my bucket list for one of these days. But anyhow, one of the members of the Collings Foundation, he was tasked or hired to prep all of these vehicles for the auction. So he did so, and as I mentioned, the Collings Foundation, they purchased a bunch of vehicles, but also some other military vehicle collectors in Northern California also purchased some of those. And after they had made that purchase, they reached out to this gentleman who had prepped the vehicles for auction to try and help them, get the vehicles set up, sorted, running again, etc. So he came out here and did that for them. Well, they kind of stored all their vehicles together, and other military vehicle collectors found out about it and said, hey, can I store my vehicles with your vehicles? And it soon just became, this big collection of privately held military vehicles. And so all the collectors finally said, hey, why don't we make a museum out of it? So that gentleman who was with the Collings Foundation was then hired to be the curator of the American Armory Museum. And one of the absolute coolest things about this collection is because it's all owned by these different private collectors that really want to enjoy their pieces and not just let them sit and collect dust or whatever. They really give you a very unique experience, getting to be up close, hands-on, even inside some of the vehicles. Normally you go to a museum and everything's roped off, glass display cases, do not touch, whatever. Not so at this museum. This was just truly unique to me, that I could go in, open a door, poke my head around these vehicles, look at all the controls, hop in a seat of one of them. That's just something that you don't find at any other museum. So that's just so cool. And we just have to give a huge thanks to these owners of these collections that really allow us to get this experience with them. Another really interesting thing about this is if you're walking through the museum, you'll notice many of the vehicles have California license plates. And I asked the curator about this, and what he told me is actually many of the vehicles here are street legal, they're titled and insured, which means he can take them out on the road. And in fact, he told me he does take them out on the road because these vehicles do need to be operated, to keep them in good order. And so sometimes he'll run errands around town in some of these vehicles. And that's just truly mind-boggling to me. Like, imagine you pull up to a stoplight and you see a Jeep with a recoilless rifle pull up next to you. Another interesting thing about that, though, is what it lets the museum do. So we were looking at the World War II half-track, and the curator was telling me that they had just ordered a new set of rear tracks for it so that they could take the original ones off from the 1940s and put these replacements on, and that they were actually planning on using this half-track for local wine tours. I mean, imagine that, you're going for a wine tour on this half-track with all these, inert machine guns hanging off of it. That must be absolutely crazy and hilarious. So, fellas, if you want to go to the museum and your wives aren't terribly interested, we'll tell them, you'll bring them to the museum and they can go off on the wine tour while you check out the museum. Because so many of these exhibits in the museum are meant to be used, one of the other really funny things about it is some of the tanks you go for rides in, they're parked inside the main museum building as exhibits. And so when they're ready to go for rides, you actually just see them being driven right out of the museum and out into the field for rides. So that's just really funny watching that, or going into the museum, hopping into whatever tank you're going to ride in and driving straight out of the museum out into the field to go take it out for a spin. So this is the British Scorpion tank, which we just rode in. And man, this thing is quick and maneuverable. I mean, I guess it's due to the short wheelbase, or I guess track base in this case. But this thing turns really, really sharply. If there was ever a tank you wanted to take to an autocross, this would be it. Have you ever seen a tank get jump-started before? Well, apparently the battery on this one could use a little help. So this truck over on the left pulled up, and we're gonna try and jump it to start it. All right, so the jump was successful. The Abbot is up and running, and now they're gonna go do some laps. So we are getting a ride in this CR-113 prototype, Command and Reconnaissance 113. And apparently these were the prototypes to the M113 APC.
Another really cool exhibit that this museum has is General George Patton's actual Jeep that he used to tour around Europe with in World War II. And the reason why the museum has this is General Patton's driver or chauffeur during the war, a gentleman known as Jeep Sansa. He's actually local to the area, pretty close to the museum from what I understand. And yeah, he was friends with some of the staff here until he passed away recently. So that's just like a really cool way they have of honoring him, and a very unique exhibit.
So another thing I didn't know is that there's also a sister location for this museum in nearby Vacaville, and this other museum is called like the Rowland Freedom Center, or also called the American Freedom and Center for Flight. And unfortunately, this one doesn't have a website, but it's kind of at the airport or Nut Tree area. And apparently they have aircraft there, as well as some other military ground vehicles. And apparently they rotate vehicles with the American Armory Museum sometimes. So if you get a membership to the American Armory Museum, then you can go visit the Rowland Center for free as well. So that's kind of cool. I'll have to check that out one of these days. So there you have it. That's a little overview of the American Armory Museum in Fairfield, California. You know, I had a total blast there. And this is really just a true hidden gem of the area. Like nowhere else are you going to be able to get up close and personal, exploring these different vehicles, you know, going for rides in them. And so, you know, I have to give, again, a huge thanks to all of the owners of this collection for really letting us experience that. So please check out the website. Go check it out if you have an opportunity. I guarantee you're going to enjoy it.